Yeah.
So Todd Kenreck,
That
how's
is
it
me.
going, man? How are you?
It's going okay. It's been an interesting couple of days. It's been an
Yeah,
interesting week for sure.
I can imagine. So we've gotten to know each other, a little bit just over the last year or two,
Yeah.
Gen Con, via like stuff that I've done with Wizards of the Coast, where you were like interviewing me for stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been a big fan for a long time.
That's
I
very
just will
kind.
say, in fact, I think the first time we met at Gen Con and you were like, oh, like, hey, Colby. And I was like, you know who I am? For those who don't know, Todd, Todd is a giant of a man. He has a giant heart and is giant in
Uh,
stature. Yeah, you're like, what are you, like 6'6",
I,
6?
I'm 6'5".
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum height.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I did not know this until we met in person. Um, so thanks so much for agreeing to chat with me. We've kind of been chatting a little bit over Twitter and then email
yeah.
the last day or two, and I was like, dude, let's just like get on a call and just kind of hang out and talk. I think it would be awesome to just maybe interview you a little bit, ask you some questions, and then just throw it up on the channel. Okay, so why don't we do this? We'll chat for a minute. At some point, we'll cut it in half, and we'll do like a part one on my channel, and then we'll do a part two on Todd's channel. So that's maybe kind of a nice segue into the first question I wanted to ask you. Well, actually, before I even get into the first question, why don't you, just in case there's a viewer or two on my channel who doesn't really know you very well or kind of know who you are or what you do, why don't you give us a little self introduction,
Oh
if
my
you would?
God. I am Todd Kenreck. I am the former senior video marketing guy over at Wizards of the Coast. We were hit by a layoff, so I am no longer at Wizards of the Coast as of a week ago. But I got my big start making content at NBC News. I was the game editor in chief there,
Okay, I see. I
which
did not know
was
that.
a crazy job. So I got to review video games for a living, go to E3 and do interviews with game developers. I actually created my own job at NBC News. So that's a long story we won't have to get into right now. But and from there, there were layoffs again at NBC News, and I decided to
Mhm.
start my own D&D YouTube channel. And from
Right.
there, I went on to D&D Beyond and did all their content. I left there, started my YouTube channel up again. Then Wizards approached me, and I went to Wizards of the Coast to do
Mhm.
D&D, and now I'm back to my YouTube channel for the third time.
Yeah.
So,
So how long were you officially employed by WotC?
a little over a year,
Okay.
but I was a
Really?
contractor for 2 years
Okay. I
before
was going to
that.
say it
Yeah,
feels like a lot longer than that to me.
yeah,
And maybe it's just because, yeah, it just feels like, well, I mean, I guess if I think about it, most of like I sort of first got to know you just probably as like the guy that was interviewing like Chris and Jeremy, you know
yeah,
what I mean, and other people, of course, but as like 2024 new books were kind of ramping up and in testing and then of course launching and like all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would have guessed longer than that.
I mean, I've been covering D&D for 8 years,
Okay.
but it's because I've been so many different places like D&D Beyond, but I've also always been my own shooter.
Yeah,
So there's a consistency of visual style that you've seen.
sure.
So it feels like I've been here forever because I have been here forever, but just jumping around channels quite a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So now you're in like the Seattle area, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And have you been there? Like, were you there before you started working for WotC or?
Oh, yeah, I was NBC News actually weirdly had a relationship with Microsoft. So I actually worked on Microsoft campus, and it's pretty funny because they NBC News offered me a job and I turned it down
Hmm.
because it was just a boring job like uploading videos from newscasts at the
Sure.
time. And they asked even though I wouldn't even come in for an interview, and then 3 months later they asked me to come back, without an interview just take the job, which was
Yeah,
nuts because
yeah.
I was in Portland at the time, and so I took it because I was in a pretty rough video shop making extreme sports shows for like Fox News, not Fox News but Fox Sports, ABC
Okay.
Sports, um, a bunch of channels that don't exist anymore that did extreme sports things. So I was cutting like full length shows at the time. So yeah, I moved
Okay.
up to Seattle, and so I've been here so long. Yeah.
And tell us about like your history with D&D. I mean, you've been playing since what was your first edition that you
Oh
where you
man,
jumped in?
kind of first. It's so I was 8 years old the first time I got to play. My brother ran a game for me while we were on vacation. And by ran a game, I mean it took me like 2 or 3 hours to make a character.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a cleric because I
Sounds
was
like
told I
me.
had to play a cleric so I could survive.
Little brother. Yeah, little brother. It's like, we need a healer. Hey.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, I was playing by myself, so this is like a
Okay.
one-on-one. My first experience with D&D is a one-on-one.
That's the
Um,
same with me actually. And I played a monk.
yeah.
Surprisingly,
Oh,
I
okay.
won.
Monk's healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played, and that is for about 10 minutes probably. But it was the thing that kind of sparked amazement in me is I was arrested in the game. And I'm like, well, I reach out for my knife, and my brother said they took your knife. I'm like, I don't understand. I have a knife, and oh, these perspectives are different, and that's like when
Imagination.
D&D happened
Yeah.
for me, and I realized like
Oh, that's
this is
cool.
amazing. So, I
I
started playing
just
D&D since then, and I started DMing in middle school and high school. I had a lot of DMs I didn't like, to be honest, which made me want to be a DM.
hmm
Um, and then, one of the biggest and most impactful moments was I was a news photographer at one point in my life. I lived in a very rough town and saw a lot of rough things.
Mm.
There was a lot of crime and a lot of gun violence and gang violence. So after a year of that, and I was very, very poor. Like my building was condemned. Um, it had been set on fire.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
so I moved home
Uh-huh.
after my parents convinced me. But you can have these traumatic events in your life that kind of change you, and so it's hard to hang out with your friends after that
Mm.
because their life is very normal.
Yeah.
And what helped me was playing D&D. So playing D&D gave me like 2 hours, 3 hours, not being this very intense version of myself,
Yeah.
and it just helped reset myself
Yeah.
to just get a break.
And
And
just escape a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, you need 3 hours to escape, and that is the thing because people always wanted to talk about stuff and all that, like what'd you see and you were in a shootout, and I hated that stuff. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just getting to play D&D and have an imaginary world, just it changed me in a matter of weeks, and
Yeah.
so
I,
I
you know,
fell in love with D&D.
I wonder how many stories like yours and a little bit like mine are out there for those of us who play. I mean, I had a very similar experience where
Yeah,
my
what was
parents,
that experience? Because we haven't talked
well,
about
not
this.
I'm going to backtrack there. I did not have a very similar experience. I had a similar experience in that I came to D&D for similar reasons, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
my parents had just gone through a divorce. We were living in Alaska at the time and moved down to Utah, and I didn't feel like I knew anybody and I didn't have any friends, and I was dealing with, some depression issues, just, that kind of trauma as a 10-year-old or whatever,
yeah,
being 2,000 miles away from your mom, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, found just a group of guys who were wanting to play, and I joined them, and we played, I mean, daily probably throughout my entire junior high life. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have said this at the time, right? But I think looking back now, I can recognize, oh yeah, like of course, I was, looking for a place to escape where I could kind of be somebody else that wasn't dealing with, these kinds of issues. Not to mention just the crap that everybody has to go through as like a
Yeah.
middle schooler,
Yeah.
right?
The middle
On
school's
top of
rough.
that, where
That's
you
when it
can
gets real rough.
be like someone who's powerful and sort of in control of their life and able to, overcome their challenges, through wit and or fireballs.
And what a great
Yeah,
way to make friendships.
yeah,
Because making friendships can be really awkward, but if you're like playing in a D&D group, there's no expectation of like,
right.
hey, how was your day? Do you want to get coffee or any of that stuff? You're just playing and you by osmosis become friends.
Yeah, well, and I think like at least if you've got a good group, right?
Yeah.
There's a level of vulnerability
Yeah.
that is sort of innately inherent in like the playing of a role-playing game,
Yeah.
right? Where you sort of have to be able to kind of let your guard down a little bit, take on a role where like you might feel like, oh, like I can't talk in an accent or I don't want to pretend to be an elf like
Yeah.
that. They're gonna make fun of me. They're gonna think I'm weird. But like when they just accept you and then that's kind of mutual, it's like suddenly like we're all able to be vulnerable together and like nobody's judging or like, making fun of each other and we're just kind of laughing and having fun and having a good time. Like, yeah, like a great recipe for like strong friendships to be forged,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
for
And those
sure.
memories are role-playing memories are so weird because I can remember campaigns from back then, barely I can remember any memory of that year because
Yeah.
the act of having to imagine something actually
Yeah.
makes that memory more concrete.
Hmm.
I think it takes more processing power. So I can like I ran a 3 year Star Wars campaign. I
Wow.
remember almost every session.
Right.
So, it's
Yeah.
just so weird. It
I
just
get together
functions.
with those friends, now 30 some odd years later and almost without fail. Dude, remember that one time
Yeah.
when we were like going to Castle Ravenloft
Yeah.
and you like wanted to get there first because there was somebody in the Thieves Guild that said that you were going to get some special and you like knocked me off my horse and like all this stuff. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
laugh about it and have all these like, but you're right, the memories that are just all imagination
Yeah.
memories, right? Well, okay, so cool. So you're with Watsy for a while. You've become, I think, known as almost kind of a face of, D&D to a large extent, at least for anybody who, watches YouTube videos put out by Dungeons and Dragons. And then a week ago you get laid off, and I know that. Sorry, let me maybe preface this by saying I know that you've probably got some NDA things that are going to prohibit you from, you know, being overly sort of like negative or sharing maybe details that you're not able to share, which is fine. I'm definitely not the kind of person that's ever interested in doing some sort of like hit piece on
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
anyone or anything, I guess, for that matter. But I would love to know like whatever it is that you can share. I mean, did that come as a surprise to you? And I mean, like, what was sort of your initial reaction, and what's the last week been like?
Um, oh man, it was definitely a shock. Um, heartbreaking. It is my dream job, and
Mm,
I've worked for years to get there. Um, so that was difficult, and I closed down my business because I was a contractor
right.
for a couple of years, so I had to set up an LLC and all that stuff. But mostly, it's just like I love the D&D design team and the art team so much. I'm married to someone who's on the art team. So
Yeah.
like these are all my friends. Equally it was hard for like to see Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins leave because
Yeah.
these are the people who legitimately are my friends.
Yeah.
So it's been an adjustment not seeing them every day.
Yeah.
Um, but I can say like the public numbers on YouTube, we views are very high. Like Player's
Yes.
Handbook campaign, you can take a look at the views, or if you use like something like Social Blade or something like that, they're all public numbers. And so
Yeah.
I had a great 3 years of views.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like just amazing, basically. So that's why I was blindsided. And um things happen, layoffs happen to every company, but definitely a shock. And the week was, I mean, transparently, like I could say everything was roses and sunshine, but like, yeah, super sad, man. Like
Yeah.
this is what I love doing. I mean, I
Yeah.
love interviewing those developers of D&D and the art team and trying to think of different videos to make. And the live play shows I put on with the Baldur's Gate 3 cast
Mm-hmm.
and the Lego game I did with Ginny
Yeah. Yeah.
D,
Yeah.
and Anjali. Um, those were fun. And those Baldur's Gate games for D&D Live, I produced and executive produced, and I also wrote
Mm.
like kind of the I always make a little summary of what we need to do
Yeah.
to give the DM, but I never want to give a DM of like, this is all the things, this is the
Sure.
story you have to do.
Sure.
Because people like Abria, Jeremy Crawford are experts in their fields. Just I tell them like, here's here's the story. Destroy it. Like burn it if it's not, you know, doing well with the crowd. And
Right.
so working with the Baldur's Gate 3 cast, who are the loveliest people I mean, you could ever work with.
They seem like it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like Neil, Dev, Sam, Theo, just absolute joys. And
Mm.
Abria as a DM as well. Just the best time. And each show that we did, uh down to the third show, you can see the chemistry is just insane. Just absolutely insane. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss all of that for
Yeah.
sure, unless I get invited back. But
Yeah. Yeah. And here's hoping, because I think, I mean, we were all, well, gosh, I mean, last week was just like Jeremy and Chris going
that
to
was a lot of news.
Critical Role, and then like a day later, like
Yeah.
Todd's let go. Like, what's going on over there? And I mean, actually, let me ask this, if you can talk about it. Was that a surprise to you when you saw Jeremy and Chris getting hired by Darrington Press? Or, and if you
Um,
can't say, then that's fine. But
it's interesting. It's an interesting question. No, I did not know. However, I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes as a kid, and I love working out puzzles.
yeah,
So when two of my friends moved to LA,
right. You're like, hmm.
in lieu of nothing,
Yeah,
who have never brought up LA to me before,
yeah, yeah,
I become suspicious.
yeah,
Um, but I thought that was fantastic news, and I'm really happy for Jeremy and Chris. They are amazing people. They're great friends, and they've been a joy to interview. And when you're in the trenches for 8 years, because the reason I really started doing these interviews was I dropped by Wizards of the Coast because I had my YouTube channel, and I'm just like, hey, well, I'll try doing a video of just about D&D. And then I met people like Emmy Tanji, who's on our team, who is
mhm,
just a bright light in this world. And I met Jeremy Crawford, and I met Chris Perkins. And I just realized this is all I wanted to do with my life,
hmm,
because I've been interviewing game developers for years, and they are always so passionate. By the way, game
yeah,
developers for video games, they work so hard. Video games are great because there's B-roll. This is one hard thing about D&D. Um, but there's plenty of footage to layer onto your video. But
sure,
God, Chris has sat down, and I'll be honest, and it's that original video is on my YouTube channel.
hmm,
I think it's like the resurgence of D&D. And Chris, I remember when Chris sat down, and he's I don't think he wanted to do this interview at
yeah,
all. He was so tired and so busy and just working and just wanted to write, and he has to
yeah.
talk to me. And by the end of it, I felt like we were friends,
Oh, that's
and we
cool.
started laughing about stuff. And same thing with Jeremy and all of them. And it just every time I got to interview them, these friendships kind of grew
Yeah,
more and more. And so we've seen each other. They've definitely seen me at my most scatterbrained, because I'm setting up cameras myself all the time. It's all my own gear,
yeah,
and I'm monitoring it all while hosting. So I don't know. I actually forgot the question is. They're all lovely people, so I miss them very
yeah,
much. And
yeah,
yeah, it was a it. it was definitely a dream job, and hopefully I get a shot at that dream job again sometime, you know?
Well, we were all, I think I can speak for the majority of fans of Dungeons and Dragons. We were pretty dismayed to see you let go. And so yeah, I mean, let me ask this. What would you think looking back on, your years there? You've talked about the Baldur's Gate 3 live stuff. Is there anything else that you would say that you're maybe sort of like, I don't know, most proud of or like favorite moment from your time there with Dungeons and Dragons team?
Wow. Uh, I'm very proud of the interviews. The boy, that YouTube, I don't know that anyone's ever done this before. The Player's Handbook campaign,
Hmm.
we did a premiere every day.
Yeah. I remember being
That's
on
like
there and
18 hour.
being
It was a
just as
documentary.
excited as everybody else in the live chat.
I they asked me what my strategy was, and I'm like, I'm going to do a premiere every single day. And they're like, that's insane. I'm like, I'm doing it.
Hmm.
So every day we have like a 30-minute premiere, and the views kept on going up and up and up and up and up, even though these were not the most popular classes,
Right, right, right.
but the views kept on going up because people just, it was appointment viewing. And I
Hmm.
was so proud of that because they did so well and there was so much engagement. I'm really proud of the Baldur's Gate uh games were fantastic. I was proud of the Lego game. Um, I started voicing again just to try new things. Like I made this silly Modron video about their creepy lips. That's just all pieces of art. Um, I'm proud of the work I've done actually with Megan on our private channel because that was just like, definitely in the trenches stuff as well. But like, uh, I'm proud of the squiddling, which I wasn't working at Wizards at the time, but there's this great weird social interaction thing that happened where Megan and I were joking about what would happen if a mind flare put a tap hole in a gnome, and then the jokes kept on happening between Richard Witters, who used to be a concept artist there, and then
Uh-huh.
Adam Lee drew something, my wife drew something, and then she drew something that was all tentacles and tiny little feet, like a baby in a little, little seat.
Now I want to see a screenshot.
Oh yeah, I've got no, that stuff is on Twitter. You can search that up and
All
find
right.
that. So like Witters, I think it was Richard Witters sent concept art of the gnome squiddling where it's just tiny little legs and all tentacles. And then I showed that to Chris Perkins, and Chris Perkins said, I know where I'm going to put this. And this is all on video, by the way, later. So it's all documented. He's like, I know what I'm going to do with this. And that ended up in Rime of the Frost Maiden. And so
Really?
that is Megan, and a lot of the creative team's baby boy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's super weird.
Now I'm gonna go look at Rime of the Frost Maiden and see if I can find that art.
Gnome squidlings are amazing. They're so weird. They're so
That's
creepy.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, how about this? And again, you might not be able to say much on this line, but I think the flip side of that, I wonder if there's anything that you, I guess, regret from your time there, or that maybe you'd want to do differently if you had a chance to.
Uh, um, I think maybe relax a little bit. It's hard not to work your absolute hardest and to be extremely passionate, but it's and that's just a personality trait of my own, right?
Sure.
I think, and it's always dangerous with any job. I think you let it become your kind of personal identity sometimes because you're just so laser focused and you just like want to go go go, and you're afraid of the day maybe you'll get laid off or maybe you didn't work hard enough. Like when you're
Yeah.
living your dream, there's a weird added pressure that happens with that because people say
Mm.
like, well, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Lies.
I was gonna say I think well and now my experience is very different. I work for myself and
Yeah,
it's just me and my one employee who happens to be my son who
yeah,
edits my videos, right? And there's some truth to that statement for me, but
yeah.
also like with the caveat, right? That there's definitely a lot more pressure than I even felt, working in the corporate finance world for 17 years before I did this, because it's like, oh, it's like it's all on me. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
That
know,
pressure is nuts. Yeah.
it's hard to take any time off, because it's like, well, if I go on vacation, then I'm not going to get a video out,
Yeah.
that week, and that's going to hurt my numbers, and the subscription's going to go down, and the revenue all that stuff. I think fortunately after, gosh, I'm coming up on 5 years now doing this. Like, I maybe have gotten to a place where it feels a little easier to just go, it'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll hurt the channel a little bit if I miss a week, but like, it'll be fine, right? But for the first couple 3 years or so, I didn't feel that way, like, ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was rough, but I mean, I can imagine, where you're coming from, where,
And I've gone through that as well. Like there was a time when being a creator was my only job, like having that
mm,
YouTube channel, and it was terrifying.
yeah,
And the thing is, I kept on getting gobbled up. I was like lucky enough, when I was doing my own D&D YouTube channel, we were getting by, but um, I got laid off from Amazon. That's when I messaged D&D Beyond. I'm like, I can
mm,
handle all your content, all your social media, all your articles, I can do all of it. Because at the time, they were in a little bit of a rough patch, and so yeah, they hired me to be in charge of all that stuff, and that was like nice. But I also wonder, like, where would my channel be today had I just for the last 8 years did my channel? Like, would I be in the same spot?
right,
Would I be completely independent? And you kind of
right,
always wonder, right? Like, it's there's a benefit, and I would say this to any creator, to owning your own stuff. To owning uh, your own future, right?
sure.
It's never gotta stop being scary because you always want to be relevant, and that's something I'm always scared about. Like, when do people stop caring about who I am?
Okay, so tell me this, like, what's coming for you now? Like, where have you landed? What are you doing as far as like, you're getting back into your YouTube channel, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know where I've landed because it's only been a week, and the if anyone's ever been laid off, generally you're in shock.
Yeah,
We've, Megan and I have been in shock for sure, and there's kind of a grieving period even, and you're just trying to figure out what's the next step, and it's a very hard job market. So definitely like reaching out to folks, and I want to stay in the game industry, but for now, until anything concrete happens, looking at doing YouTube. And it's terrifying because I don't know how to make money on YouTube anymore. Like you all have
yeah.
been doing this for years, and I've been kind of like outside of that bubble. So I starting on my YouTube channel for the third time, and you can find all my old content from back in the
Nice.
day there from 8 years ago.
Links in the video description, people. So go check
Yeah.
out Todd's channel, subscribe, watch his
Thank you.
videos, give him some likes.
Um, Starting a Patreon and having to reconfigure my brain around Patreon. So, Patreon's always interesting because um or when Jack Conte started that, it's you always say support, and I try not to think about it as supporting. Like I'm trying to create content people just can't live without, and it's hard for video because I think people don't always realize like we're not making any money off the revenue from YouTube. Like it's
It's
even worse now. It's
Yes, it
revenue
is.
from YouTube is non-existent. You have to get a
It's
sponsorship.
Yeah, it's gotten, and it's gotten worse. It's gotten steadily worse, like, year over year,
And it always
since
will.
I started, right, in
Yeah, yeah.
2020.
Yeah, it will keep going down. So you're really hoping you get a sponsor or the people who watch you support you. So if you're watching this video right now, support D4.
Thank you.
You're doing great work. YouTube isn't no one's gone on vacation on YouTube money.
Yeah, yeah,
like it's hard. Like and this content won't exist if unless you like check out people's Patreons. So
right.
my Patreon has like right now at the $5 level, we just keep making videos, and that means camera gear and flying places and hotel. Like I'm going to go to LA and interview some people,
Nice.
Um, I may try to go to London on someone else's dime and interview some people. You know what I
Cool.
mean? Like I'm trying to try to connect jobs, like multiple jobs. Like if I can get contract work and move around and realize who's nearby, but like I want to keep the interviews coming because I think people really care about that, and I think developers and artists need a voice, and I want to provide that for people to see how passionate they are. And that's one of the things that matters most to me is I don't like it when developers of games get lost in the shuffle or artists.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to keep that alive, and I want to start doing like build videos um, that are not going to be math based because you're so much better at that. They're going to be silly builds.
Hey,
Um, and then
that's a future collab for us. Like
yeah,
we pick a subclass and you do a fun concept build and I try and make it
functional.
min-maxy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I am dipping into actually design. So I did some design previously on a project that disappeared within the day for licensing reasons, but I am already working on some vampire adjacent species, like
Nice.
with like subspecies as well within there because I love vampires.
Okay.
I'm kind of
So
working on some stuff that's
you're doing third party like
yeah,
5e
like
compatible.
yeah, and I want to actually come out with a book eventually. I think that book would probably be called Avron's Guide to Everything.
Okay.
Um,
Sticking with the
so
theme.
yeah, I love the everything books so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything that says everything, you know what you're getting. You're getting
Yeah.
everything. So,
Yeah.
and I love player focus content. So I love tons of species. I love subclasses. I love new spells and magical items. But I think it's just trying to find the wish fulfillment. It's kind of
Mm.
like being a dungeon master, right? Like uh having a bad dungeon master makes you want to be a dungeon master so you can do better. And
Yeah.
sometimes now, like I really wish I could make this character,
Mm.
so that just have to kind of make it myself.
Sure.
Kind
Yeah.
of, which
That's
sounds very
definitely
Thanos.
well, it's very except for you're not killing half of the
Yeah, exactly.
universe in order to do it.
So like, yeah, at
Um,
that level, I want to at least be providing people with PDS, and then people can be like, "That's crap," and then I will fix it. And then I
yeah.
just because I love UAs. By the way, we had a UA today, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I kind of want to just make unearthed arcanas, or I just want to make playtest materials and eventually publish that in a book. I think that would be
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh, awesome. Well, we always love third party content creators. So
Yeah,
let me know when you're getting close to a Kickstarter
yeah.
and I'll
I'll let you know. We're
have to do a shout out.
it's week one, not anywhere close. But yeah, I
Well,
have a lot to learn.
maybe we'll see it on D&D Beyond
Yeah, that would be
sometime.
amazing one day. Yeah.
Okay, why don't we stop there and call that part one? And then everybody, make sure you go to Todd's channel, check a link in the video description, and I'll put a pinned comment as well for part two so that you can watch the rest of this interview over on his channel.
Yeah, Zoom's a little weird. I'm so surprised they haven't made a better Zoom.
Right. Especially since they've had so much time since
Yeah,
COVID,
like
especially, right?
especially like COVID, they just got lazy.
Yeah, they're just like, this is fine. It works.